Hey, what's up guys? This is Krishna here. Welcome to part 4 and the final part of Vellum Grain's tutorial series. Today, we're going to do this. Okay, so let's go right into it. Now, even though I'm starting a brand new scene here, if you have not watched part 1, 2, and 3, here are the links for them. Please go and check them out because we're going to have to copy some elements from part 3. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So before I add the agent here, I want to show you Mixamo, which is where I got the agents from, or at least the animations of agents and the agent T-pose from. So go to Mixamo, type in zombie pack, and I chose scary zombie pack. If you click on that, this will continue to run all the animations that are in the pack along with the character. Then you can choose the different character if you like. But I'm not going to do that. So once you've done that, click download. I chose 24 frames per second FBX format, T-pose, and keyframe reduction is none. And click download. I am not going to do that because I've already done that, okay? So let's go right in. So first is we need to create a geometry, and we're going to call this run agent. Go inside of it and create an agent node. Okay, and let's change the input type to FBX, and we're going to bring in the T-pose zombie. Okay, so here it is, and let's add agent clip node, and here we're going to set the locomotion node to agent zombie hips, and then we're going to change the source to FBX and bring in the file, which is, I don't know which animation, whichever animation you want. Let's choose walk to start with. Now, I also believe this is the best way to bring in Mixamo animations into Houdini. Check the convert to in place animation and give this a name, because if you don't, then it won't work. So nothing's happened here yet until you come to set current clip, and I'm going to change this to walk. Now, if you haven't given the name here, it will not appear here, and obviously will not appear there. So let's check. Yeah, okay, so it works in place. Let's add a couple of more here. So I'm going to just add 2 more animations. Change the source to FBX. I'm going to bring in running crawl. We call this running crawl. Convert to in place animation, and then the third one will be run. I'm going to call this run. Convert to in place animations, and I'm going to create a null, and I'm going to say agent definition. Then we're going to go to the crowds shelf tool and click on collision layer and select agent, press return, and you got to select a bunch of points where it will form a cylinder, and these are your collision points. Okay, I'm not going to do too much into this right now, but you get the idea. You need to go into this and click on a bunch of them to make sure that they all work. And if the hand is here, so you want the hand to collide, sort of thing, Anyway, so I'm just going to choose a part of the head. I'm going to make it bigger. So yeah, that should be sufficient enough, I think. Right, so let's move on to the next stage, which is click on configure joins on the shelf tool. Click on the agent and press enter, and it will create a bunch of coney shaped things, and it will also create a test ragdoll sim. Click on that to check if it works. Let's disable this. Yep, that works fine. There you go. Okay, good. So we're going to create a null, and we're going to call this out. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Let's create a grid, which is going to be our ground, and let me call this number 2 ground. Go inside of it and transform this to 2. So that's slightly bigger. And I'm going to create a null. I'm going to call this out. Next is we're going to create a collider. I'm going to call this 3 collider. Excuse me. I'm going to call it cube. And we're going to ghost other objects just to see what's going on. Okay. And I'm going to transform this. And I'm going to copy parameter, paste reference, and divide it by 2. So it sits on the ground plane. Okay. And let's do a little thing here so we can just extend this a little bit and make it thinner. And make sure it's about just over zombie height. Okay. Oops. Agent's size, basically. Okay, so that's good. And I'm going to create another transform, and I'm going to rotate it $F multiplied by 100, let's say, like, you know, just like that, whatever. I'm going to create a null, and I'm going to call this out. Okay, so that's done. So let me save this as untitled. That doesn't matter. Override. Yeah, that's fine. Wow, it's in a bad position, to be honest. I guess that doesn't matter right now. So I'm gonna just keep that on. So we're gonna select the agent. Disable that for now. We're gonna select the agent and click on populate, and it'll say now select the terrain, which is the ground, that one, and it's created a bunch of points for us, and it's created the crowdsource, which we're gonna call for crowdsource. The next thing to do is select the crowdsource and click on simulate, and make sure you select all the choices and press accept. So it's created the crowd sim for us, and we're going to call this 5 crowd sim. If you go inside of crowdsource, you've got your crowd sim import. You can create a null. I'm going to call it out crowd sim. Something like that. Okay, good. All right. So let's play this. Okay, so it works. That's fine. But it kind of is weird because everything is just moving and floating in the air. Okay, good. So let's go into the simulation and go into walk and change the type to locomotive. And now it's working fine. Okay, so we're going to randomize this a little bit. So we're going to go into walk, which is the default setting that we set up in here in the agent clip. Where is it? Up here. Look, set current clip to walk. Now, crowd simulations and whatnot is not the scope of this tutorial, so I'm not going to really go into detail. However, this is what you got to do. For this one. So going to walk, which is the default, click on randomize clips and add 2 more because we got 3 animations in total. I'm going to choose the first one to be walk, and then the second one run, and the third one run and crawl. Okay, so that way you can tell that you've got random agents doing random actions. Okay, which is perfect. So the next thing to do is let's go back into crowdsource and randomize the initial state, because if you look at this, if they are crawling or running, they're all doing exactly the same. Okay, just give it a little, differentiation between each agent. Randomize initial state. No, that's not it. Randomize clip time, maybe. Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's perfect. Right, so let's just leave it at default, which is fine. Let's go back into CrowdSim. Now we created our collider, so we're going to create a ground plane here. before the collider, and I'm going to connect it to merge static collisions here. Okay, so you've got the ground plane. Next thing to do is create a static object and connect it to merge active collisions. And in here, we're going to go and choose, we're going to go and choose the collider out path and use deforming geometry because it is rotating, remember? And let's go into collisions, uncheck the display geometry, collisions, and click on volume. It is there, which is good. That's perfect because sometimes it doesn't exist with low uniform division, so you want to make sure that it does exist. Right, so that's there. And now, if you play this, it's rotating, but nothing's really happening as such. Let me reduce the speed in which it spins because that's like crazy. Okay, so let's go inside here. I'm gonna hide other objects. That's a little too slow, but anyway, let's change it to, I don't know, 40 or something. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's a decent speed. But it's not colliding, it's not doing anything really. So first thing you want to do is bring in a crowd trigger. Okay, and you need to connect it to merge transitions. Yeah, and you want to change the type to RBD impact data, and RBD impact objects is going to be our static object 1, okay, which is our collider right here. And the next thing you want to do is create a crowd transition, because you need to tell it what do you want to transit, what is your transition when you hit the collider. So let's say input state is walk and you want to change it to ragdoll. Okay, ragdoll is your state where the agents fall down. Okay, luckily we have a walk animation, but by default, even if you do not have a walk animation or state, this will be set to walk. So you need to be careful, and you want to definitely choose what's in here. Okay, so we will leave it at walk. Okay, so let's see now if that works. It still doesn't work. Okay, perfect. What's going on? Not perfect, but yeah, what's going on? What you got to do is you got to go in here and change the RBD ragdoll to animated static and all of these. Okay, and ragdoll will already be active, so that's okay. There you go. It's missing some. It's to do with the Crowdsource substeps because it's so fast. But anyway, I've just increased the substeps too. Yeah, well, still doesn't do it, I suppose. But never mind. Okay, that's all right. That looks okay. So now the next thing is these guys are just going straight, which means we're not going to have much impact onto the collider. So we want to make sure we can do that, which is going to be by clicking on this target position, and we're going to select all states and accept it. And in here, a shelf tool has created a target position for us. Okay, so you want to change the attraction type to surface points, and you want to choose the soft path to be our collider and accept. That way they're going to run towards the collider. Again, I'm not going to cover too much of this time, okay, just so that you know. Okay, so that's good because, you know, that way we know that they're definitely coming towards it and they are going to get hit at some point. Perfect. So we've now created the crowd sim. I'm going to save it. Now, here's the thing. So we're going to go back to our part 3 and we're going to copy the source to start with. I'm going to come back here and paste this source. That's from part 3, okay? So what is this now? We're number 5. We're going to call it number 6 source. So here we're going to change this to object merge, and we're going to go into Crowdsource and bring in out crowd sim. And instead of using regular unpack, you need to use agent unpack. And during unpack, you want to transfer one attribute for short, which is active, and connect it to, let's say, connect it to time shift, and make the connections, make all the connections that are connected to the regular unpack to agent unpack. Okay, so that way that goes in there. So that's all in there. It's all in there. Perfect. And that's all in there. Okay, so let's just delete it. Delete the things that are not necessary. Good. So that's okay. Don't worry about that. It's going crazy because obviously it's being thrown apart everywhere. So next thing we want to do is copy the auto.network from part 3 and paste it in here. Inside of this, we know all of this already exists. Okay, we just need to change the SOP path to 6 underscore. Well, and then what else? You know what? I'm actually going to leave it not so complicated, and I'm going to just change this back to the source, and hopefully okay, so something's not working, and that is this one, which is fine. There you go. Okay, so that's come in, which is fine. I'm going to change this to 6 now because auto.network would automatically grab that information. So something is happening, which is basically they're all exploding in the first frame, which is okay, which is expected. Now we're gonna enable this and go in here, and we haven't brought the infection yet, so let's bring the infection, which is this one, and we're gonna disable this for now, and let's paste the infection here. Go into the infection and let's choose 6 underscore geo. There it is. Everything is working now. We're not gonna really do any of these here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and connect this to there, and we're going to disable all of these. So literally, infection is just a straight pass through. I know it's called out solver, but don't worry about that. Go in auto.network, go in there. So out solver is coming in. We are transferring color, which really doesn't exist yet. Anyway, so but we are transferring the position again based on the color, which is also not going to work technically. The reason why it's working is this subsolver is doing nothing at this moment in time. Okay, so we're bringing this in here, and before we do that, let's add a color to this dot geometry. Oops. And we're going to call this, we're going to call it 0, 0, 0. And we know we definitely got an attribute called active. So we're going to create a point wrangle. And we're going to bring in that attribute here, okay? active equals point 1 comma active comma at pt node. So that just transfers all the attribute called active, and then we're going to use that to create another point wrangle here, and we're going to say if at active equals 1, then at cd.r equals 1. Okay, that's enough, I think. Okay, so we've given it a color, and now we're going to do our move geo, which is here. If color is 1, and do this. We're going to do it slightly differently. If the color is 0, then move the points, okay? It's sort of easier that way. Else, move it like that. Okay. Right, the next thing is, this is another point wrangle where we say it stopped. Again, all explained in parts 1, 2, and 3. We're going to do the same here. We're going to say, instead of 1, we're going to say if the color is not red, then, you know, move, etc. So let's go into subsolver now, and let's see if that works. Yeah, something's happening. Okay, so which means that it's working. However, we don't have visuals of why that is happening, and that's because we don't have a static object comment static solver. You don't need static solver, but I'm going to put that in anyway. So we're going to bring in the sub geometry, which is our collider display geometry, and let's check the collisions as I mentioned earlier. Okay, so that works fine. Good. Got that and got that. Perfect. Let me save this and go. Okay, but if I'm going to use deforming, use deforming geometry, because if not, it doesn't work. Okay, great. Okay, that works. Just doesn't work as I expected. It's definitely activating. We get rid of the pop wind and enable the gravity. Okay, it's definitely working. It's just not colliding with our collider. All of these grains, okay? So let's see what is going on. Why is that? Okay, so I figured out what's going on here. Okay, so it works now. You can see the collision part. So I had to go into the collider and change the box from primitive type polygon to polygon mesh, and I went back into Autodesk Network, and it started working. Now, the thing is, I went back into the collider again and changed it back to polygon, and Autodesk Network collision continued to work. So I'm not really sure if this is a bug in Houdini or not, but anyway, so just bear that in mind, and it works now anyway, so it doesn't matter. Right, so that seems like it's working. So let's just set this up a little bit here and create a camera, maybe. Okay, good. So let's check it out. Oh no, okay, I'm on the outside now. Okay, wait. So last thing to do, well, let's just check it out here. Just make sure it works. Oof. That agent just flew away. Yeah, it looks like it's working. So if you see some strange things happening, just increase the sub steps and it should work fine. Okay. So the last thing I want to copy from our part 3 is the grains vellum, which is the output of these grains. Okay, so that would be 6, 7. Well, that is actually going to be 8. And we're ready to go and check this out. So we got ground, we got collider, and that. Yep. So I'm going to let it run and I'll come back to you once it's done, okay? So that's the end of that one. There you go. Yeah, just be careful because obviously you can see that the sand is being thrown away like crazy, okay? So watch out for that, but the rest of the items are working fine. Okay, I hope you liked it. Please like, share, and subscribe. There will be more tutorials. I'm not sure on what, but certainly Houdini tutorials will be coming up. So check it out. Thank you. Have a good day.